Good morning, students. So we have come to the end of this constructors and destructors chapter. Yesterday, we explained to you about destructor. So today, I'll be explaining to you from the solve exercises. So from the solve exercises, if you flip onto that page, okay. Yesterday we saw this destructors, and this yes, two more topics are remaining: global class objects and local class objects. Just go through this. Okay, it's explained in symbol. Okay, in terms of global class object, okay, its normal declaration of the constructor. Okay, the in global class object, the object is declared outside of the main function. Okay, so in that case it becomes a global object. In case of a local object, okay, the using the class, the object is declared inside a member function body. Okay, so that is accessible only within the scope of this function definitions section within this function body. Okay, so that is only the topic on global and local class object. Okay, so just go through this paragraph. Okay, now coming back to the solve exercises, question number 4. So the answer is already given here. The output is 19. Okay, but let me just explain to you how this program goes on. So we have as per the question. Now this type of questions usually come uh, so you have to be prepared for it. Usually it comes for like 2 marks. Okay, sometimes it comes in combination of two, so 4 marks like that. So uh, it can come from any chapter. So these kinds of find the outputs, find the syntax error, okay, write the output like that, or correct the program, okay, write the correct program like that, come for 2 marks like that. So you should not ignore in that. So in this particular program, if you see a very short program. So in this program, you have the class name as sum. So this is your user defined class name sum. Okay, under the class definition, okay, the class definition is always ended by a semicolon. Keep that in mind. Under the class definition, you have the members declared. What are the members? The data members, and then the member functions. Through these data members and the member functions belongs to the object, right? So uh, in this case here, by default, since here the access specifier is not written, so this is your private private data members. So by default, x, y, and total are declared as private. So this x, y, and total are your variables, or in this case data members. Okay, data members which belongs to the object. So when the object gets declared through the class, this the memory space will be allocated for these 3 variables. Okay, so here you have the public access specifier. So under that you have this member function, special member function. Now this is not an ordinary member function, but this is actually a constructor. Okay, how do you know it is a constructor, and how do you know it is a function? Because you can see the parenthesis, right? Within the parenthesis, within the curved bracket, uh, whether anything is written or not, that represents a function. Okay, so this is a constructor. How? Because if you see the class name and the name of this function, okay, they are both same. So a constructor has the same name as a class name. So that's why this is a constructor. And what type of constructor it is? Now a default constructor will not declare any parameters. It can, at the most it can uh, have default argument. Okay, in the case of this, you have 2 parameters a and b with the along with the types integer, right? So in this case, this is called as parameterized constructor. Okay, so here we have a parameterized constructor defined. So within the class definition, okay, the parameterized constructor is defined here. So the function body is also within this curved bracket. Okay, so within this function body we have it has been initialized the value of a to x, and the y has been assigned the value of p into 2. Okay, now this is your normal member function void display. As you can see here, okay, the difference between a normal member function and a constructor is that a constructor has the same name as the class name. A constructor never has a return type, not even void. As you can see in here, the normal member function has mm, the return type void, right? So this member function will display, okay, this statement. So here within this member function, okay, definition, so total has been executed as x plus y, and cout will be displayed for a total. Okay, so now coming back to the main function, here you can see that the class is declaring an object. Okay, the class is declaring an object by the name of s. So object is actually a variable. So when the object gets declared through the class name, okay, class name in this case, keep in mind that this class name is a user defined data type, which is same like if I write suppose like int s, right? So int is your data type, s is your variable name, right? So in this case, sum is your user defined data type, and the name of the variable is s. So you are declaring an object s of some type. Okay, clear? So based on, so this class sum encapsulates the members of the object. Okay, so this belongs to the object, and that is encapsulated by this class sum. Okay, so now when you declare the object s through the sum, as you can see uh, in a constructor, okay, so it can be that the object s, okay, can will not declare any parameter or any argument, okay, or in this case, okay, it is the initializing two arguments within the bracket. Okay, so what you're doing is that you are indirectly or implicit there, this is an implicit call to the constructor. Okay, now so you're not directly calling the constructor, but you're in, since the object is passing the value of 9 and 5, both are integer values, as you can see, right? Both are integer values too. So two arguments are passed by the object. So in that case, the object is indirectly calling the parameterized constructor, this one. So this is your calling function. So this value 9 and 5 will be passed to a and b. Okay, first the value 9 will be passed to a, and 5 will be passed to b. Okay, so this is your call function. So upon creating or upon declaring the object, okay, automatically this constructor will be called. In this case, there is an implicit call. Why? Because here you have a parameterized constructor call. Okay, so indirectly you have a parameterized constructor call which calls this function body to be executed. Okay, so these values get passed by value to these variables a and b. Okay, so here the variables are declared by the constructor. The two variables are declared by the constructor, so to accept the value that has been passed from the main function to the function definition body. Okay, so that value gets passed to gets initialized to the data members x. Okay, and then from b the value gets initialized to the data members y. So through so through this pass by value method, okay, you are able to initialize the values, uh, the you are able to initialize the data to the data members x and y, because these x and y are the data members of the object, right? And the role of the purpose of the constructor is to initialize the object or to initialize the object data members. So using this parameterized constructor, you can see that you are able to initialize the the data members. Okay, now next, after that the control comes back to the calling function, right? And then after that the next statement gets executed. So the object calls this member function to display the value. Okay, so the object s, so since this is a private data member, okay, the object cannot directly access it, right? So that's why we have an implicit call. So here now, in order to display the value that was stored, okay, or to execute the formula, okay, the object accesses or calls this member function display, okay, using the dot operator. So this is the calling function. It calls this call function, this function definition body to be executed. Okay, so total equals to x plus y. What is the value of x? That is 9. What is the value of y? That is 5 into 2, 10. So 9 plus 10, 19. So 19 gets stored in this variable total. Okay, so now that value gets displayed through the cout statement. Here the return type is void because this function does not return any value back to the main function or to the calling function. Okay, that's why the return type here is void. So that's how you get the value. The output is 19. Okay, so I hope you have understood by that explanation. Now coming to the next uh, program. Okay, question number 5, find the error if any in the following program. Now this type of questions also comes. Okay, you have to find the error, and then you have to note down where the error is and then answer it in this format. Okay, it may not be exactly as it is written here, okay, but yes, you have to exactly mention where the error lies and what type of error it is. Okay, so here you can see the same class num, right? So here you have the private data members, that is int n. Okay, you have the public member function. So in this case here, this is your constructor. This is your constructor, and the constructor has a return type int. How do you know it's a constructor? Because the class name is num, so the constructor name is also num. Okay, a normal member function, can never have the same name as the class name. Okay, if it is, if it at all it has the same name as the class name, then keep in mind that it is a constructor. Okay, with the parenthesis. So now what error is here? Now till this part is correct, this part is also correct. You have a normal data member declaration. Okay, so here also, but in here you can see that in the public access specifier, it is a label, right? A label always denoted by a colon. Okay, so in that case, that is the first error. Okay, so the first error is after public there must be a colon, not semicolon. So in here, instead of a semicolon, you should have a colon, like in this case. Okay, that double dot. So next is, okay, the next one is here. So int num. Now like I said, a constructor cannot have a return type. Okay, a constructor cannot have a data type, so not even void. So this int should not be there, it should just be num. Okay, so that is the second error. Within this curly bracket, n equal to 4, that is correct. That is the default value has been assigned to the default constructor. In this case, num is your default constructor. Okay, so the second error is this int. So constructor does not have return type, so that is the second error. Void display, so this is your member function. Okay, and cout n, so this part is also correct. Okay, so these two programs, I hope you have understood. Okay, now moving on to the next page. Okay, if you see the next page, question number 11, identify the syntax error, okay, give reason for error. Now in this case you can see that you have to identify with what type of errors is that, and then you have to write the correct program, right, and then show the error. So this is your answer. Okay, so let me explain how this you get it. Okay, first let's see the main program. In the main program, the class name is ABC. Okay, you can see that it is written in bold letters, capital letters. Okay, now secondly, the private access specifier is not mentioned. However, by default this is declared as private. However, you can see here int x equal to 10. Okay, now that is the first error. You know that this is a data member, x is data member. You can only declare a data member. You cannot initialize the value. Okay, to initialize the value, you have learned in classes and object that to initialize the value in that for a data member, you declare an object. If the data members is public, then the object can directly assign the value. Suppose like this is the object a1, right? You can write a1 dot x equals to 10 within the main function. Right here below you can write a1 dot x equals to 10. Then you can assign the value to the data member x through the object or through the member function. If this is private, you can write suppose like a1 dot input data. Okay, then you can assign the value to these data members in the member function body, in the function definition section, using the scope resolution operator, right? So that can be done. Or in the case of a constructor, you can do it in two ways, either implicit call or explicit call. Through implicit call, you can assign the value, right? Or through explicit call, you can directly call using the constructor, right? So in this case, x equal to 10 is wrong. Okay, keep in mind that you can never initialize the data members in the class definition. Okay, so the second line float y, that is correct. Okay, so you are simply declaring the data member, that is the variable y. Okay, now again here apc, okay, within the bracket no parameters are declared, so this is a default constructor. Okay, a default constructor having a uh, function body within this curly brackets. Okay, so here y is assigned a default value, that is 5. Okay, so y is assigned default value, that is 5. So that means uh, this is your default constructor definition section within the class. Okay, this is your default constructor definition section, and here below that you have what is called as the destructor. The constructor, the destructor, and then the class name are always same. However, how do you know it is a destructor? Before the name of the function, okay, you have a tilde, this tilde symbol. Okay, so that denotes it is a destructor. So you can also see that a destructor will not have any return type, nor will it have a return type void, just like constructor. Okay, and then it declares no parameter, so you can see that, within the parentheses nothing is written. Okay, in this case there is no function body to be executed. Okay, so what is the use of this declaring a destructor? Now even if the destructor is not declared, okay, upon execution of this program, once the object, suppose like this object a1 a2 goes out of the scope of this, once that means once the purpose of the object is done, okay, the destructor is automatically called to uh, erase the memory, okay, or to vacate the memory that was occupied by the object. So it destroys the object and the data member's memory space. Okay, so that is the role of the destructor. In the case of a constructor, the constructor allocates memory space for the object. Okay, so it initializes the data members, right? Okay, so quite the opposite, that is in constructor and destructor. Okay, so what is the error here? Now in this part, in the first one, you can see that the error is x equal to 10 cannot initialize a class member here. So that is the first error which I've already informed. Okay, in here you can see how many constructors are there. Only one default constructors are there, right? Now in a class you can have only one default constructor. Okay, you can have a you can have default one, you can have only one default constructor, you can have parameterized constructor, you can have also copy constructor, but you can have yeah, parameterized constructor as many, but depending on the number of parameters to be different. Okay, however only one default constructor should be there. So what is the error here? As you can see in the main function, okay, the class is declaring two objects, a1 and a2. Now in this case two objects are declared, but you know that when the objects get declared, the constructor is automatically called, right? In this case the default constructor will be called, so that means y equal to 5 will be assigned. However two objects are declared, right? So only one constructor is there. So in that case that is the error. Okay, so if you see here, uh, a b ABC a1 comma a2. Okay, error number 2, ABC. Okay, this is the class name. Using the scope resolution operator, it is assigning the default constructor, right? So this is showing using the scope resolution operator, it is telling the compiler that this constructor, default constructor, belongs is to the class ABC. Okay, is not accessible. The structure for ABC is not accessible. Okay, so that is the second error. Okay, two objects are declared, so you have only one default constructor. So what about this second object, right? So that's why it is not able to the compiler will show that error. Okay, in that case, so if you have two objects, that means okay, you need one default constructor and you need suppose like one more parameterized constructor, right? In that case the destructor will terminate the object. Okay, so the second error is the that default constructor is not accessible. Okay, and destructor for for the class is also not accessible in that case. Okay, so see, if suppose abc a1, in that case, okay, that this program will run. Okay, so what will happen is that abc a1, in that case it will automatically call this constructor, okay, and assign the value y equals to 5. Okay, so that is the errors to be solved. Okay, so in whenever this kind of program comes, you have to write down these answers and then you have to show this kind of errors. Okay, so that is all for today. Okay, I hope you have understood. So again tomorrow I'll be explaining from the solve exercises. Okay, and then we'll see on the notes. Okay.